What's up, everyone? We are back with John Cotton, partner at the Circling Institute.
Hey.
Hey.
Here we are again.
Here we are again. We did a great 1 hour long vodcast conversation, which you guys can check out. It's in the channel, as well as a video of John circling me. So now I will be circling John, and circling is a process of communication, a very intimate communication, and diving deep, peeling back these layers. So let's go ahead and flip over. First part of our timer, the sands of time. So John.
Yeah.
That smile though, how do you feel?
I feel good being here with you. Yeah. A little tired. Just from the day, life, the last few months, and the last hour and a half, just kind of our intense focus. Yeah. And it's the end of the day, haven't eaten, and I still feel alive because there's a spark in your eyes.
What I gather from you is that you have a really important mission. And the way that you communicated the vision of your impact to me made me light up. And we actually didn't get to it in our hour-long conversation, so I think it'd be good to mention now, but your vision of having this process of communication and intimacy be more proliferated around the world, especially in areas of leadership like the United Nations. I think that is incredibly important, and it resonates with me greatly. It's a big vision, it's a big mission, and your hustle must be very difficult. It's a lot of work to get there. So I can only imagine the heart has a lot of other feelings that come from not only the business, but other aspects of your life, your relationship, your family, and I know nothing about you, basically. So how are those pieces of your life?
Gosh, where to start? I think right now I'm really in touch with being driven by the passion of possibility, of how this level of deep relating and connecting and authenticity and a willingness to really be with someone in their world and get what it's like. To me, the possibilities of if the world actually knew, or most of the people in the world knew how to communicate this way, it just seems like it would be world-changing. You know, like if kids grew up with this as like an additional topic, like learning how to see and feel through somebody else's eyes, being able to share actually what's truly going on and how they're being affected, being able to talk about what's happening between people rather than, you know, boys growing up just competing with each other. And I'm not sure how to describe, I don't have the right to describe how girls grow up. I imagine like bullying would disappear, fighting would probably somewhat disappear. There'd be a tremendous level of cooperation. I think kids would be more in touch with what inspires them and what they want to learn versus like what they're having to learn, and regurgitation versus creativity. I just imagine a whole new generation growing up with, like, really bonded to each other. And so, like, I have a dream of just having this level of communication weave back into the fabric of society and the fabric of our lives. And so I want to see it in schools. I want to see it in adult development trainings all over the world as a possibility. I want to see it in corporations. I think corporations, for most people, think of it as a really stagnant, really hard place to be because we have to shut down so much of ourselves to be there. Like, we can't bring our true selves. Like what if we could? Like, what if there was a level of care and love and compassion that's like somehow that growth is like part of the bottom line because it contributes so much to the world, right? And some genius is going to figure out how to incorporate that into the bottom line and calculate it or monetize it or something so that it's seen for the true value that it is. And I think if we can get this into government and diplomacy, like you said, United Nations, like what if every international interaction started with maybe a whole day or two of like getting what it's like to live in the other person's shoes and fully getting their motivations and their hurts and their struggles and their pain and their desires and understanding it like it's your own. And then them knowing that they get that from you too. I think it would change the entire conversations. There would be a level of care of like wanting to make it better for you rather than just like, how can we win as much as we can possibly win? Versus like, how can we make it better for all of us? I just think there's so many applications of this work that are life-changing that it's hard to take my attention off of it. It has me so grabbed. Yeah.
Why?
Because it matters. Like it matters to me, the kind of world that I live in. I mean, I started it, I think the why was just personal. That
why your heart, though, from here?
Yeah.
What's the feeling of the why?
Yeah, I mean, because it feels like love to me. It's always been my favorite thing to do, more than anything, just to be with somebody like this and explore just the depths of our soul and what we care about and what we ache for and what hurts and just everything, like just a deep human connection. So that's always been something that's nourished me more than just about anything. And so I think when I found this work, it was like coming home again. It's like, oh my God, I've had this with my best friends and lovers in my life, but it still feels relatively rare. And even at those times, it's like to get to the depth, even with people that I've want to with, like sometimes it's just happened. It's like, whoa, like how did that happen? Where we just went. How do you recreate that on purpose? And this to me gives me access to that. And even with people that I just meet. So sometimes like we have this connection after 10 minutes with somebody that I might have not had with a friend who I was just sort of being an everyday kind of friend with for years. Because you just kind of get to a certain level and you think you know each other and then you stop and then it's all just catching up on details. Versus like you said, I want to know what's in your heart. Such a beautiful question.
What does the love feel like?
Feels warm. Feels soft, nourishing, safe, supportive,
As you're
yeah,
saying these
feels
things,
like home.
I'm melting myself as you're saying these things
Yeah.
about love and how it makes you feel.
Yeah, it feels like somehow like there's this bond of like somebody's like reveling in and enjoying like my existence and like who I know myself to be, and they're helping me like be more intimately accepting and loving of even that, and I'm with them in the same way. Yeah, and it's just this beautiful flow. Yeah.
Where does these feelings, where do they live for you?
I think for me, they actually it's everywhere. Like, I mean, people traditionally feel it here, and I think I do too. But I just feel it flush throughout my whole body. Yeah. And somehow, I think, I don't know how I sensed it, but just throughout my whole energetic existence. Yeah. Yeah, just that.
Are you always like that?
That's a great question. I think I was, but it was numb. It was turned off. I think I didn't have access to it as a child. I think mostly as a child, I felt lost and disconnected. Like I always had this level of sensitivity. Like I was tuned into something else, and the way that most people were relating as I was growing up just felt really harsh, and I just like wanted to hide from it. And I mean, I could engage, I could enjoy mixing it up at times and that kind of thing, but most of the time it just, because I felt the lack of this part of me being validated and seen and nourished, I think I mostly just kind of shut down for most of my childhood.
The feeling of disconnect, what did that feel like? Where did you feel it, and what were the...
Oh God, it was just a profound hurt. Like, where did I feel that? I'm not exactly sure. I just wanted the sense I have is like one of this. I just wanted to like curl up into a ball and hide in my room. Like I didn't even want to engage with my family. I just kind of like no place felt safe. So there was like a baseline level of anxiety, or not quite terror, but it seemed like that. Yeah.
What was causing the disconnect? I do really feel that. What was?
I think it was just a lack of people who could tune in to that part of me, of like the richness of who I was, and that and like my love for that kind of connection and reflection. Like people just didn't communicate that way in my upbringing, in my childhood, in my schooling, and that kind of thing. So.
But you knew you needed that.
I didn't know I needed that.
You didn't know.
I just know.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't have, like, there was something incredibly missing, and I didn't know what it was. So it felt amazingly depressing, And depression wasn't a thing when I was growing up. So maybe that's a good thing, because I probably would have been drugged into numbness that I just went into naturally. But probably would have been good for me to see a therapist when I was a kid. But something happened naturally. I did, like, around 11th or 12th grade, I ran into a group of friends, or just somehow magnetized a group of friends around me, that some of whom really communicated with this kind of depth and compassion and care. And like all of a sudden I had some best friends who was like, wow. Like, oh my God, like this is something. Like this is something I never knew was possible before. And I came alive. And all of a sudden that part of me like woke up. And I was a completely different person. And yeah, that like life was all of a sudden taking on a whole new meaning.
The feeling of going from to going to open to these people that are gravitated towards you, that feel you and get you, and that you get them, and that feels like a midwife, feels like a Genesis at 11th or 12th grade. That, wow.
Yeah, it was like an awakening.
What was seemingly impossible became possible.
Yeah.
That must have been a big moment then. So then, what the first feelings, where did you feel it? What was the emotion when the first happened that this group and you related?
I think I was like awestruck. I remember being in a basement at a party at a friend's house. I became best friends with a woman and a man, and I had had separate conversations with both of them that were just mind-blowing to me. But I think the first one was with the guy. And we just had like a 2-hour conversation at this party where we just tuned in and shared our like deepest self with each other in a way that I didn't know anybody could do or could bring out of me or could allow. And somehow we just tuned in and did it for and with each other. I think we were both just awestruck. It's like, wow. Like what just happened? Like this is a whole, something just opened up a door of possibility that I didn't even know was there with people. Yeah. And I think I felt phenomenal relief, gratitude, alive. I felt a level of appreciation, and I felt a level of I know, like I inherently know how to do this. Like this is something, like this is like a capacity or a skill of mine that like I think nobody has ever seen. Yeah. Yeah.
What about with a woman afterward? With her?
Same thing, except I think partly because of who we were, and partly because like it was my first like awakening, and she was very attractive. I fell in love with her. I mean, I fell in love with my friend too, but it wasn't like romantic love or sexual love, right? Yeah. And I fell in love with her as a person, but it was like my first kind of like, oh, and it was unrequited. Like she was wanting, just really love me just as a friend. Yeah. And so there was a mixture of both aliveness and richness and like total disappointment and depression. It's like, fuck, like the first time, like I finally like get what I imagine I want in life, and I don't get to have it, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there was a mixture of excitement and awakening and tragedy.
I'm imagining this just very, very sweetness The sourness.
And horrible. Yeah.
And like you said, the first, like,
Yeah.
But then the beauty of unlocking that, and wow, and being first inspired by those two conversations, unlocking that in yourself. Wow.
Yeah.
So the disconnect left at that point, or did it stay?
The disconnect in myself.
Yeah.
I think a huge amount of it left, and there's always I think a process, which I experienced for sure of having to overcome the accumulation of wounds from kind of like that lost childhood.
Yeah.
And continue to sort of reconnect all the places that were numbed out as a result of that. But yeah, so that process just started then, really. Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine a
Yeah.
like 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old Jon that's somehow in tune with energy and emotion at a level that other kids your age were not, and what that feeling would be like, to feel like being alone and disconnected.
Yeah, and I can imagine if I had somebody there to actually tell me that that's what that was and show me, and like I always have these fantasies of like going back and like reliving again with the consciousness that we have now.
Older brother Jon comes and teaches
right,
younger
like how would
brother
that
Jon.
be, right? Like this level of equanimity towards all the bullshit that goes on, just like this fierce knowingness.
But it's like the neural architecture is not formed, able to comprehend even that at that age yet. Potentially, we don't quite know exactly, but follow-up is, this initially came about by asking if you continue this feeling of your essence being maximized, the feeling that you know that the impact that you're making is so important that you vibe on it so frequently every single moment. Is all of the disconnect now gone today? Did it feel like from that 11th, 12th grade moment until now that it's been non-existent?
I think a lot of it's gone, yet I'm sure there's more.
What would it take to get to the more? Like, were you able to talk to your parents about how you felt?
No. I mean, my father passed away when I was about 23 or so, and I was just starting to really have words for like my developing consciousness. And at the time he got sick, so we were starting to have better conversations, but it hadn't gotten to that point. I felt like an appreciation from him of like who I was starting to become, but it was so fresh and new that we never got to that level of like talking about my past and my childhood, that type of thing. Tried to have it with my mom at one point, and she really did her best to hear me. But her journey was different. Her journey, was more practical. Post World War II, and having kids, and making a living, and raising her kids, and making sure they got to college, and that kind of thing. It's like, it wasn't a journey of exploration of consciousness for her. So I think it was hard for her to grasp, like, what I went through and my struggles. I think she had a sense of it, but from a completely different perspective. Yeah.
Is she still with us?
She is, this summer, she's going to be 98 years old. Amazing, huh?
I think that's in the top, like 1% of
Yeah.
age. Yeah.
Yeah.
That she's gotten to live a lot. Wow.
Yeah.
When you were talking about being 23 and putting words to your feelings, and then aiming to talk to Dad about that right at the time that Dad was getting sick, I felt like the son and father were finally starting to commingle.
Yeah. Yeah. And although we were very different, because I think just different generations, and I came in, I mean, considering how I've lived my life, I came in with a very alternative bent and a desire for growth and consciousness and all that, and he lived a much more traditional life. But I think there was an appreciation of who each other was, because we were very similar temperament-wise. We even looked a little bit alike. So in a sense, it was almost like I was kind of his spiritual agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question about the state that you carry today of this mission and vision and living it moment to moment is so, you're so passionate about that. Are there parts of you that are unfulfilled emotionally outside of the success of the vision?
Oh God, yeah.
What are they?
I mean, probably my biggest frustration of my life is that I'm still single. It's been incomprehensible to me my whole life. I mean, I was always really relational. I mean, I can remember being in my 20s thinking, yeah, if I find the right partner, I'll settle down and get married, where most of my friends were like, no, I'm going to be a bachelor till at least my 30s and that kind of thing. It's like, oh, I'm ready. Apparently I wasn't, because here I am. But I think I don't know. The only explanation I can sort of make up is I had a different path. And I think that I loved love so much that if I would have found the right partner then, I'm not sure if I would have gone on this path. Like, it would have been enough for me. Like, I would have found happiness just in that. And I might have forgotten this whole other aspect of my life. That's just the story I make up in my head. But I do miss that. I feel a profound loss about that. It's still something that's important to me and that I want. Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
This energy coming through you to bring forth this vision, and then the missingness of of someone. I'm always very curious about what this means for the different people. You made a small inclination towards, is it possible that my purpose was to focus until now on this so that I could impact? There's still time to still have someone, come in and be loved. Yeah, and who would have you become otherwise at a younger age if you found out some? Could you have become better? Would it not?
Yeah. Maybe I would have found somebody with similar dreams and goals on an equal path, and it would have just been that much easier to do what I'm doing.
What does the what is a word, or how would you describe the feeling of that missing?
Ask me the hard questions, Alan. The feeling of the missing. Loss. It's like on one hand, it's a deep yearning. On the other hand, it's the loss of a possibility of a different type or different quality of life that could have been. Yeah. Doing it with a partner, with a loved one, together, the whole journey. Maybe having kids, family. Yeah. Yeah, it's a profound sadness. Yeah, disappointment.
Yeah. When you uncover move those layers and come to the sadness and the profound feeling of loss, what then happens?
Yeah. At times, when you say what then happens, like my attention goes to like two questions or two places, like what has happened and like what's happening right now. Right? So what's happening right now is like I feel those feelings, but they're not intense. Like there's been so many tears cried over them over the years that it feels explored and embraced. Not necessarily complete or done, but it's just like, yeah. I mean, I've cried the tears that needed to be cried about it, and so I like go into it and I go, okay, that's what is.
What about the non-fulfilled part about it?
Frustration, missing, wishing, and okay, so like all that desire, like I haven't figured out how to manifest that yet or make that happen. So like all that passion and that desire, I don't want to waste it. So it's like that's going into what I love about my life and what I'm wanting to create. And the rest of the people that I get to interact with and the richness of that. You know, I mean, I've had a lot of beautiful connections in my life. Yeah.
What would it feel like when the incompleteness is filled?
Say that again?
That last piece of incompleteness being filled.
If it were filled?
If it were filled.
Oh my God. It's extraordinary. For me, the feeling of not just being in love, but really being loved and loved for like the whole range of me, where like don't have to hide a thing. I get to experience everything.
Felt such a sense of relief when you said that.
Yes.
Whoa.
And there's a lot of range that I don't show often.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like. It's not like a requirement, but if I'm with somebody, it's like, oh, like they get this slice of reality or this slice of me and they enjoy it. It's like, okay, great. now I can play in that arena, you know, but maybe they don't like this, so I don't need to go there, you know, or so like some people just like the comical or the profane or the like
what Jon was maximized in every domain.
The politically incorrect, like let's make fun of everything because like so life doesn't control us kind of thing. Like that, to me, that's a delightful place to be.
I'm imagining a keyboard and you're like, there's only like 3 notes or 5 notes being played. I want to play all 50.
Right.
I want to play all the notes.
And then the other side is like the total sacred, where everything is a treasure and needs to be honored and treated with beauty and care and all that. And the weaving together of both of those in a moment is, like you said, an exquisite symphony for me. And so people who get that whole level of reality, that's where I just really come alive. And I have people in my life that like vibrate there and get that and get that about me and themselves too. And it's so nourishing for me to be with them and to be able to be received and have that part of me received and to have them also generate and call that out. Yeah. And it's not my everyday reality. I'm also somewhat introverted, so I need to actually go within and have quiet time and disconnect time and things like that. So I'm a complicated individual. Yeah.
Being with you. I felt this feeling that a lot of young people go through. Feeling of being alone with their feelings. And I felt how that ties to some of the issues that we have today. And that moment for you, for when you first gained that 11th, 12th grade group of peeps, brought a huge sense of smile and relief to me. And then hearing about the way that you wanted to connect with your pops and mom on it, and then connect with someone else in your life as a partner about it. But just so driven by the big vision in schools, in corporations, executives, the United Nations. And I'm just like feeling so blessed to have you.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, or seeing that particular part too. Like just pointing out like the bigness of dreams. Sometimes I just feel like I have a lot of pipe dream dreams, and other times I just recognize, hey, I have big visions, and it's important to dream big. You know, like that's just one of them. I have a lot of big dreams that I don't share a lot with people because they seem to most people a little wild or off the deep end. Yeah.
I imagine as part of our exploration into our larger scale live events until we get to the sports stadiums, I imagine that we do these circlings along the way as part of that, because to have this raw connection of intimacy, be shown to be totally okay and be important, I'm right there with you.
It's spectacular, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay, we have so
much
with Jon. Thank you.
You're a good circler.
I am a beginner I know nothing. I know nothing. Nothing.
I've heard you say that before.
I got to keep saying it. That's the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
So much love for you.
Me too, my friend.
Thank you. Hug.
Love you too. Thank you. Thank you. I love you too. I love you too. Such a delight being with you. I want to just hang out sometime with some playtime if either of us ever can actually create that.
Playtime.
Yes. Like out in the woods or something. Or
Yeah. Playtime in the woods.
or
on the ocean.
or on a
Both.
Or on a
Go both.
in a lake. On a something.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in.